and I thank everybody for the effort of the drives that they've made to come here, because I know this isn't local for everybody, so thank you. Amazing to think that this is 15 months in a row. There's some veterans that have showed up for almost every single one. And I come back to a place of being so grateful. My darkest moments come in the feeling of being alone. And what this group has given me is the power every day when I am alone to know that I'm not. And whether we're together, you guys continue to be a huge influence on my life, and I'm so thankful and grateful to be surrounded by people who will trustfully, honestly, vulnerably, respectfully be there for each other. And the greatest thing about this group is you can't say anything wrong. I've always went through grief having to tiptoe because I wondered how the person was going to react to me from my loss, that awkward bond that there is now, and I just didn't know if I could be myself anymore. So thank you guys for creating this space. Next to me is a man named Mike Gervais. I couldn't really begin to list his accolades. Mike, within my personal journey, I met him about 4 years after Chris died. We had a mutual friend, and he's very into sports and understood where I wanted to go with my whole big wave surfing. And I was running into some serious roadblocks because there were times in my life where I would literally ride any wave that came in, and then there were sessions that I was so scared I didn't even ride a wave. So I was at this really weird mental thing, and when he brought up, oh, I have a friend named Mike who's a sports psychologist, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. He's not a psychologist, he's a sports psychologist. Because I went to a therapist with my parents shortly after my brother passed away. We went as a group, and it just didn't ring a bell for me. So I never went through therapy. And the first real, can I call you? I don't know what to call Mike because he's my friend. The first time that we met was in Hermosa Beach, and I went in there going, chest big, I'm Alex, this big wave surfer. I couldn't wait to explain all of this stuff to him. Well, what you could imagine unfolded next was nothing to do with that, and Mike actually unlocked what was me being unable to talk the truth and honesty about my brother. And to this day, it's been one of the only times that I've cried since his passing. I became the people pleaser for my parents, and the biggest detriment to my grief is shutting off one of our most important emotions. And it's just, Mike and I have sporadically, we've remained friends, but the times that I've been with him have been some of the most clarifying moments in my life towards the problem that I was having. And the fact that he's taking his time here now as the psychologist for the Seattle Seahawks. He also runs his own podcast, Finding Mastery, and he has another venture with Pete Carroll. Mike is highly renowned as one of the best psychologists, in my opinion, in sports. And he is nice enough to volunteer his time to speak with us. I don't think I would have ever had the guts to start this or been inspired to if it wasn't having his influence. In fact, the first time I did this, I freaked out. I was in the parking lot. It was starting at 9:30. I called Mike at 8:30 and said, hey dude, I need you here. What if this happens? What if that happens? Like, I have goosebumps telling you right now. The fear that came over me, which is probably what stops people from ever doing this or showing up to these events, I called him. And you know what happened? He showed up. And he showed up, parked, looked at me, gave me a hug, and said, dude, nothing's gonna happen. You got this. Everything is okay. Got in his car and left. and so that's how important this is to me, and the fact that you're here now really is, it's just the greatest honor ever.
Wow,
so
thank
I'd
you.
like to turn it over to him.
Wow.
We are a group of people helping people. If that's a statement, Mike is on the throne of people. I'm so excited for you to now understand it's a gift, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, isn't that nice? For me, it's an honor to be here as well because of Alex. And I haven't had the chance to meet you guys yet. And hi, welcome. And There are people in our lives that impact us. And each one of us here has a story, has a life experience. And you are impacting others, and others are impacting you as well. And so this experience, the understanding of building a community around a shared bond, around a shared experience, is something that has been around for the ages. So people and tribes are part of our DNA. Nobody does this alone. Nobody does this alone. As you've come to understand, in part of building this community, that your relationships matter. And in so much that that's the essence of why you're here, to better understand your relationship now with yourself, with your future, based on the loss that you've had. And you are a far better expert than I am in sibling grief. I've been fortunate enough to be part of the journey of incredible, courageous men and women who have done the extraordinary and have also walked the path of grief. So I do not understand sibling grief. You're more of an expert, more of a person who can speak to it from an authentic standpoint than I can. I'm here to support Alex and in return to support you. And the hope that I have for you is that I could share some of the insights on how people are able to do the extraordinary. And I will say that I'm amazed by humans, that we are dynamic. It is not an easy life that we have in modern times. It's hard and it's challenging. And the reason it's hard and it's challenging is because nobody in a formal, structured way is teaching us how to work with our minds and our hearts together in a physically challenging world. And I say challenging, it's because it's a dangerous world. It's hard. The most dangerous thing for modern people is not the boogeyman. It's not a dark alley, while those are dangerous. The most dangerous tends to be the fear of what others think of us. And it's that thought about how am I okay, and do they think that I'm okay, that keeps us safe and it keeps us stuck, and we end up playing it small, to Alex's point earlier, not going for it, not letting it be free, meaning your inner self. So my hope for humans is that we can figure out how to flourish. My favorite humans are those that have been through it. They understand it, whatever it is for you. And so that's the deep challenge. The humanity of being one of us is that you have the courage to face the dark, the difficult, the lonely, the things that challenge the essence of your foundation, of who you are as a man or as a woman. And if you don't have the abilities now to face it, it's okay. Those are inner skills. And I will share with you that we can build inner skills just like we can physical skills. All of the inner skills are trainable and we're able to develop them. They're not complicated, but they're invisible. Generating a sense of confidence, even when you feel broken, is a skill that you can build. Knowing how to be calm, to reduce your arousal, your activations levels, is a skill. And I'm going to share a couple of those with you, or how to train those. But what ends up happening for people that are going through it, and I don't know where you are in your journey, if it's X number of years ago or it's very recent, is that it shakes our foundation. And when our foundation gets changed, and our foundation is the way we understand who we are and how the world works. And when that gets shifted or it gets challenged, it can become very difficult to be you. So during difficult times, you would probably recognize that if you had a belief that there's a God, or you had a belief that it's more of a science-based approach to life, that it gets turned upside down. Some people get closer to their foundations, and some people move away. But it's a different experience that you have. Okay. So the big work is to figure out the most ancient of questions. Who am I? Who am I? That's the big work. Wherever you are in your journey now, the deep question is, who am I? There's three ways that we understand how to figure that out. One is being around wise men and wise women. So talking about the things of wisdom, sharing conversations like this, like who am I? And one of the ways that we can give that gift to others is ask, who are you? And get well beyond the things that you do and the role that you inhabit, but who are you at a deep, rich level? But that's your work, that's my work, who am I? And then the second extension of that is, can I be me in any environment? And again, some of you are down this path. You have decided to be part of this community to help others and to receive the gift of helping in return. And some of you might be brand new, you've just lost a sibling, and your world is completely upside down. Your work is still to sort out, who am I? And how can I be that man or woman in any environment? So those are called guiding principles. And each one of you have some sort of guiding principles in your life. And when you can write those down and clearly articulate them, that's the big work. That's the big rock to get in the container. And the grief cycle is certainly sibling grief. And I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but sibling grief is not well researched. It's not well understood. From a psychologist, that's me sharing with you that we haven't really studied it at the deep level that we have many of the other conditions of the human experience. What happens for many people in the grief cycle is that there are predictable stages. You're familiar with those stages, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, right? So there's some very predictable stages. But what happens in the sibling experience is that it can be changed because other people end up getting the attention. Parents. Oftentimes it's not the sibling, it's not one of you. And then there's the complication of grief with a sense that there's some sort of survivor guilt. How many of you have experienced survivor guilt? Like, why me? Why not me? Yeah. And that's a unique experience, is that you end up losing in some respects your loved one or the one that you didn't get to love enough. Can you relate to that thought? Your loved one or the one you didn't get to love enough, and it's the one you didn't get to love enough that creates the real problem. And my heart is full for you because I don't know your loss. And I have incredible respect and awe for what it takes to move through difficult experiences in life. And even more regard for those that commit to helping others do the same. And so when I say it's an honor to be here because of Alex, it is just that he brings every part of himself into what he does, and he shares the vulnerability of being real, being an extraordinary athlete at the same time, sometimes being a mess, just like all of us.
A lot of the time.
And that is exactly what it means to be human, to have both sides of that. Me too. And so what I want to share with you, the big container to get, or the big rock to get in the container, is the question, who am I? Nobody can give that to you. You have to earn that. And one of the things that I will not present with you today is a pity. I will not have sorrow for your journey. It is your journey. I will have the position that I see that you're going through something hard. Good. There are other choices. You don't have to be here and you don't have to face it. You can find a bottle, you can find drugs, you can find a lot of different things that will numb the pain, but you're making a choice to be with it. Great. That's how you become. So we do it by being in conversations with wise men and women about who am I and who are you. That's one. The second is writing. If you don't like writing, no problem. The third is meditating. Those are the three practices to figure out, like, who am I? What am I doing here? And one of the things that, let's call it tragedy, one of the things that tragedy does to us is it shifts and fundamentally alters our understanding of how we work and how the world works. So your work is to go sort that out. The next part of it is, once you figure that out through each other, writing or meditating. How many of you have a mindfulness training practice that you're listening, you're actively paying attention to your inner world? How many of you are doing that? Beautiful. Okay, so because that's not enough, I'll spend some time on that with you, okay? Once you have that sorted out, and that is a life journey of discovery to figure out who am I, is then we build the mental skills. To be calm, to be confident, to be focused in this moment, and to trust yourself that you can adjust to whatever comes up in your life. The most powerful humans know who they are and know that they can adjust to whatever comes up. If I say that again, the most powerful humans are those men and women that can do that. You might not feel like the most powerful human right now. You might feel very broken, very alone, depressed even. But what's possible for one person is possible for another. It is possible for you. And so your journey of discovery and becoming is unique to you. And that sounds like an easy word, an easy phrase, that it's unique to you. But I have the highest regard for people that are facing that and to be able to do it with others. So how do you develop a sense of calmness in life? One is to understand who you are. That's the big work. The second is to understand how your physiology is impacted when you feel something, whether that's anxiety or whether that's sadness or whether that's anger. Your body is speaking to you all the time. There's an intimate loop between your thoughts and your emotions and your body. The environment can stimulate some weird thoughts and some different emotions, but you can create those as well based on your unique thoughts. So understanding that interwoven loop between your thoughts, your emotions, and your body and the environment is part of the necessary work to figure out how to have a sense of mastery of your own life, a sense of command of your own life. Your thoughts, one thought isn't enough. One thought won't do it. But one thought leads to another thought, and it leads to another thought, and then it becomes a train of thought. You've heard that phrase, a train of thought? That train of thought will take you somewhere. Sometimes that's a wonderful place, and sometimes that's a very difficult place. So understanding the thought that leads you down a particular track is a very important skill. How do you do that? Awareness of your thoughts. That's why we talk about mindfulness as an essential, as a necessary but not sufficient activation or activity. Because mindfulness is a way to increase your awareness of your thoughts, awareness of your emotions, awareness of how your body is doing, and awareness of how the environment is impacting you. So if I could leave you with one gift, it would be to invest in meditation, invest in mindfulness. That does not need to be a spiritual phrase. That needs, for me, it can be. Every world religion, there's 11 of them, has a practice of meditation. All of them. They might call it a different word. Some call it prayer. The Christian faith calls it contemplative prayer. There's two types of meditation. There's single point focus, where you're relentlessly focusing on one thing at a time. I'll show you how to do that. And the second is contemplative, where you're guiding your mind and you're not guiding your mind. You're just watching your thoughts. You're just watching your emotions to learn about you. So the next phase in life for most humans, because we're not directly taught this, is how do we become more familiar and even have a sense of command of our own inner life. And when we do that, then flourishing can take place for us. So what I'd like to do is I'd love to answer some questions that you might have. And I've spent my time in the amphitheater of high consequence, where mistakes cost lives and limb, and very rugged environments where people are required to have a command of themselves to do well and to even survive sometimes. So I'd love to answer some questions that you might have, that I can be a person for you before you go surfing. And the second is I'd love to do a quick little meditation with you. You don't have to do this. There's nothing mandatory about it. But if we could take a few minutes and just snap into like what it feels like to get connected, and then go out, and some of you will get into the wild ocean and enjoy what nature will teach you as well. I'd love to do that with you. So before we get into a bit of a quiet space, do you have any questions that I might be able to answer about any of the mental skills? Calm, confidence, focus, trusting of yourself. Optimism is a mental skill that we teach with the most alpha, rugged competitors in the world. We teach optimism, the fundamental belief that something's going to work out. It's a trainable skill. It is not something that you're born with. Optimism is something that we have to develop. We believe that it's at the center of mental toughness, because mental toughness is the ability to stay with it when it's hard. You know what the hardest thing in life is? Emotions. It's the hardest thing in life. Having the courage to feel emotions to their fullest is the hardest thing in life. It's not something that happens externally. The loss of a loved one triggered something very deep in you, and it's emotional. It's the hardest part of it. What if I were to share with you that you can have command of your thoughts? You can do that, and your thoughts impact your emotional life. So, any questions that I might be able to serve, or maybe we just go quickly and directly right into a little bit of a meditation practice.
Do you have like a book that goes more in depth in these skills?
Is there a book?
No, you have.
I haven't had the time to write. That being said, I'm doing a Audible original, which is called Compete to Create, and it's Audible. It'll be out in January. But the reason I'm doing that, so Compete to Create means you got to work your ass off, compete with yourself inside to create a living masterpiece, and that's the idea behind it. So that'll be coming. But thank you for asking. I don't have anything now.
I have a question, or you go first. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, for somebody who's never really practiced mindfulness and tends to be a little reactive, like how would you get started in just being more mindful?
Is it reactive to the word mindfulness, or is it reactive just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the really rich parts of, so mindfulness has been around for 2,600 years as a practice. And science has been doing an incredible job of investigating it. And one of the findings is that those that practice mindfulness have a decrease in increase in stress responses and a decrease in emotional reactionness. It's pretty cool. So there's some evidence that the practice will help with being overly responsive. You know, being responsive is good, but maybe hyper responsive. So the science is there, and I'll walk you through today. I'll walk you guys through the mechanics of it, where you could just go play with it. Yeah, you could play.
I have a question. How do you apply it when you're in situations where other people aren't mindful?
Can you guys hear that? Yeah, when others aren't mindful. Yeah, that's the work, you know, right? And so mindfulness is a skill to develop. It is a state of being mindful, and it's also a trait. So it's a skill, a state, and a trait. And the skill will lead you to being in the state of mindfulness, but when you have the trait within you, then when somebody else isn't mindful, the gift that you can give them is compassion. It's like, oh, I see you. Okay, I understand it's hard to be you. Rather than being like, what the hell, like, what is wrong with you? That's not being aware of your own conditions, unless you want to be that person, which you might feel like you need to be or want to be that person, right? Most people don't want to be jerks to other people. And I don't know anyone that says to themselves, like, I am the cause of pain in most of people's life. Like, most people don't have that desire. It's a basic human need to want to belong. And when people are pulling away, it's because of usually a fear or some sort of inner turmoil where they don't feel like they can be connected. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say with more time, your responses become a bit more aligned with who you want to be. Yeah.
But there's bullies.
There's what?
There's bullies out there.
There are bullies.
There are.
Yeah, there are people there are evil and bad people in this world. There are dangerous people in the world. And most of them don't take the position that they are the bad person. Some do. The very rare ones do, but most don't. There are dangerous people in this world. And knowing how to work with them is important.
So on that thing, and what I'm trying the most with is being vulnerable. It's my new word, it's the V word. And what I've noticed is I don't know when to protect myself on how far to go within vulnerability, because at times I walk away and go, and this is probably a male aspect, like, oh, that person must think I'm weak.
That's right.
You know, like I went to here, but I'm like, did I go why'd I keep going? Should
Yeah.
I have done that? Was that
Yeah.
a good thing? Was that a bad thing? Like, where do you stop? Because I'm tired of living in here.
Yeah.
And over my practice, my problem has been a lack of communication, but a lack of communicating how I feel into words to present them to somebody that typically it's in love with,
Yeah.
or somebody that means something to me. I have a fear of
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
that's where I'm at now in life. I want to be vulnerable to everybody, but sometimes I walk away and go, oh crap, I think I lost something because I went too far. Is that me being afraid?
Yeah. How many struggle with vulnerability? Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, this is why I come to these.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's right. And men and women have a different culturization about vulnerability as well. It's a different experience for both. But you cannot have courage without vulnerability. You can't be brave without vulnerability. You can't do the extraordinary without being tested in some way. So there are people that it would be unfitting to be vulnerable with. Right? And so there are people in the world, to your point, that will use it against you. And so part of the work is like figuring out in your intimate, trusted relationships, how can I be so open and transparent and practice vulnerability there so they can do the same with me? And then you start to be able to practice that with others, right? And so find your intimate relationships and go further in as far as you possibly can go there. Writing is an important skill in that process as well. Writing is powerful because it forces you to put a thought into a concrete form. And so in your mind, you don't have to really commit to something, but when you write, you have to choose a word in your native tongue, and then that word inspires another word. And so it's a really powerful process of understanding what matters most, because you have to choose something. And then, lastly is that at a super high evolved place, you think about Gandhi, you think about Buddha, you think about Jesus, you think about Confucius, Mother Teresa, people that have fundamentally altered humanity, is that they were able to demonstrate the ability to be them in any environment. And so we have to practice that, and we practice that through vulnerability. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I would love, we've never done a breathing or meditation within here, so if you want to lead into that sounds amazing.
Doesn't? Okay. Is there anyone here that says, no, I'm not doing that? And it's perfectly okay if that's where you are on this. Is there anyone that, okay, does that mean by everyone's hands down that you want to kind of learn some mechanisms? How many of you have been practicing mindfulness for a long time?
Well, in practice for about a year.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Anyone else as well? Okay. All right. Well, then, yes?
Have you heard of holotropic breathwork?
Holotropic, I have not.
I tried going up to the desert and do a sweat lodge, and we did the sweat lodge, and then after that we went in and did holotropic breathwork. Basically, you hyperventilate until you almost pass out.
Okay, sure.
And then you're supposed to draw the picture that you saw in your mind. And that's the first time I've ever had an experience like that. I've never practiced meditation or anything like that. I guess maybe when I talk to myself, that's my form of meditation, but I know it's not good. Usually when I talk to myself, I think, oh, that's why you did that stupid move, you idiot. I'm criticizing myself.
Yeah, so that's not meditation. That would be that's the opposite. Yeah. 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 Okay.
I want to hear your meditation.
Yeah, okay, good. So I'll give you some basic kind of thoughts about it, and then we'll actually do the mechanics of it together, okay? So what is mindfulness? Okay, we said it's a state, a skill, and a trait. I'm sorry, skill, state, and trait. But mindfulness is the act of being here without judgment. Okay, so it's a particular way, on purpose, of focusing on this moment without critique and judgment. So the natural state of our mind is a bit like a drunk monkey, and it's sloppy and it's curious, it's all over the place, it's easily distracted. You can get that image, right? Yeah. So So a disciplined mind is rare. So really this is the act of disciplining your mind to be in the present moment without critique, without judging somebody else, without judging the moment or yourself. And when you can do that, you can get lost in this moment, this fragile moment, and then you can hopefully stitch it together with the next moment and link it to the next and the next. And if you can link a couple of these moments together, we get glimpses of what's possible without judgment, without critique. And those glimpses of potential are really important for us to understand what we can do and who we can be. Okay? So that's kind of the mechanics of it. High performance, your best, happens in the present moment. Wisdom is also revealed in the present moment. So you can't read a book, a wise book, and become wise. You have to reveal it from within. And this is one of the ancient practices to do so. Okay, so it is incredibly simple to understand and very challenging to do. Okay? So everybody get up on your knees really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to give you some very mechanical things to understand. You can be down or you can be up. And so many people will talk about mindful breathing as breathing from your belly. And I'm actually going to give you a little bit more science on it, okay? But first we're going to start with baby steps, and then we're going to advance it just a little bit, okay? So the first thing is I want you to put your hand here and your hand here. And I want you to take, before you take a breath, when you put your hand on your stomach, did you say, what have I done to my body? That's the critique. That's the judgment. Look how fast that is. Is anybody looking at my hands where they are on my body? That's the judgment. That's the critique. Okay, so your hands are here. Take the biggest breath you can and notice which hand moves first. Biggest breath you can. Okay, good. Now let it go. Let it all go. Now we're going to do it again. Now notice which hand moves first. Nice job. Let it all go. Now what I want you to do is just drop this hand. We're all going to work on this hand first. Okay, so just this part of your body I want to breathe, not up in your chest. So it's just here, right here. So you're just going to let your stomach expand first. Just your stomach on the inhale. All the inhales and out and exhales are through your nose. So it's here. This is quiet. Okay, good. We're still down here. Now take your hands. And the right way to breathe is you're breathing out and out. You're breathing this way and this way, okay? Not up here. So breathe in from out here. And this is hard to figure out. Relax, but open up your diaphragm. Okay, so if I was gonna grab your hands, they'd move out and they'd move out this way. Okay, so I want you, that is gonna take practice. Okay, just that alone will take practice. Now that we're here, let's actually do a meditation. So you're gonna start here, and then you're gonna bring it up here. Do that with me, okay? So it's here, and then up. You expand your back is big, your shoulders are soft. Enjoy the exhale. And just pause. Just pause. Drop your hands, close your eyes. Just follow me. Take a nice deep breath in, all the way up. Feel that tension at the top. Take a little extra sip. You can do more. Look at that. There it is. Pause at the top. Enjoy the exhale. Let it go. And just pause. Everything's through your nose. Let it go. And just pause. Take another deep breath in. Feel that pinch at the top. Hold the tension. And when you're ready, enjoy the exhale. Beautiful. One more deep breath in. Feel that inhale all the way to the top. Feel the tension at the top. And when you're ready, let it go. Enjoy the exhale. At this point, just allow your breathing to be normal and rhythmic. Just let your breathing do what it naturally wants to do. When your mind wanders, which it will, just gently come back to one breath at a time. If you're focusing on your inhale, just focus on your inhale. If you're exhaling, just focus on your exhale. I'll be quiet, and you just go to work, saying hello and goodbye to any distracting thoughts. There's nowhere to go and nowhere to be, so just be here now. Beautiful. Just a few more breaths. There's no right and wrong way to do anything, there's your way. Saying hello and goodbye to the critiques. And now what I want you to do is focus all of your attention on Mother Nature. Maybe you focus on the sun on your cheek. Maybe you notice the wind. And just notice it. It's not thinking, it's just noticing. And now gently drift your attention to the surf. And I want you to see if you can follow a wave. And see if you can follow the wave from the beginning all the way to the end, and then noticing that there is no end to the wave. It gets pulled back into the ocean, every water, every molecule, and that's the circle of life right in front of us. So just pay attention to the circle of life by following the sound of the ocean. Saying hello and goodbye to any distracting thoughts, refocusing on just the one thing. Beautiful. Now as we gently shift gears, take a moment and thank yourself. Thank yourself for the work that you've done today just by being here. All the busyness, the planning, the work to be here now. And just however you fill up, just thank yourself for doing the work. Oftentimes we're so busy that we forget to thank ourselves for caring so much. And now take a moment and thank somebody who's helped you in your life be better. I don't know how you'll thank them, but take a moment and thank them. Maybe you see their face and just honor them. Maybe you see the word. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be. So just be here now. And you can change that to another person and another person and another person, and this could be your whole practice. And for now, just take a moment and thank the person next to you for being here. However you do that, just thank them in the quiet of your own mind. In just a moment, we'll come back to a full alertness, but just appreciate the space you've created, the quiet that you've experienced, the understandings that you're playing with. And again, one more time, thank yourself for who you are working on becoming, and let the corners of your eyes smile with that gratitude. Let the corners of your lips smile. Let the corners of your throat and heart smile. Feel the emotions that you feel and let them smile. Take a nice deep breath in. Enjoy the exhale. Let it go. Open your eyes and come on back. So typically what happens is that some people will say that was the best 8 minutes of my life. Some will say that's the hardest 8 minutes of my life. and it's just an introduction, that's meditation. That's a meditation. There's thousands of meditations. And I'm just gonna flip it back over to Alex. I wanna say thank you for including me in your mission, your life, and I'm wishing each one of you the best in your journey. If I can be of any service to you, I'm happy to do that. And so, thank you for the time.
Well, we reached the peak of what this will ever become.
No.
It was interesting for me because Mike's a first guest speaker, but for me personally, I don't even have to describe this. Every time I've been with Mike, whether it's at breakfast or in a session, he makes me feel okay and that everything is going to be okay. And
Cool.
that is, I mean, you obviously have made this your life and you've studied and you are so intelligent and have done the work and are doing it, but you have an innate natural ability to do that. And when I was sitting there trying to not think, I felt grateful for you volunteering your time to be at our little hometown beach with the 12 of us, where I know there's so many people that wish they could have experienced this. So thank you. I also went to a place that if Chris hadn't died, I don't think I would have come across you in this way that we have. And it was actually a fulfilling reminder that there are gifts from all of the suffering, that oppose the suffering.
Yeah.
That if we don't sit here and be open to it like what you just did for us, then we never get to see them. And I just realized that moment there. So you gave us a gift today. You're a gift in my life, and just thank you for taking the time to be with our humble little group here. So
Thank you, brother.
one more round, please.
Wishing you guys the best.